Welcome to Simplify to Scale, a show dedicated to helping you scale a high impact and high profit business that you love without all of the complexity and chaos that can keep you trapped in the day-to-day. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and with decades of scaling experience, I know what actually works and what's just hype. So if you are done with all of the one-size-fits-all scaling advice and all of the overnight success promises, and instead you want proven practical strategies that will help you simplify operations, elevate your leadership, amplify profits, and scale sustainably, let's dive in and get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Simplify to Scale show. As you know, I'm currently off the grid, so today I'm taking you behind the scenes and giving you a little bit of insight into my CSOO certification, my Chief Strategy and Operating Officer program. So what you're going to be listening to today is one of the trainings that I did on building a high-performing and self-led team. So what I'm walking people through, this is really valuable if you are a founder in looking at how you can get yourself out of the day-to-day, and this is really valuable if you are a right-hand leader to your founder. So founders, send this to your right hand because this is the thing that your right hand will be doing to enable you to get out of the day-to-day. So if you're unfamiliar with my certification program, CSOO is where I mentor, train, and certify executive level right-hand leaders who are able to lead the business for you, who are able to scale the business for you, and who ultimately are able to get you out of the day-to-day. So we go through a series of different certifications and different trainings over the course of a year. And one of those is looking at how to both build and lead a lean dream team, which is a high performing team, ultimately trying to get to a place where that team is self-led so that as the founder, you do not need to be stuck in the day-to-day. So this is a little insight into one of 8 trainings that we did. You're listening to a portion of that call that I think will be really valuable, whether you are a founder or whether you are the right hand to a founder. So I hope you enjoy this insight behind the scenes of what we do inside our program. And if it's something that you yourself are interested in getting certified in, or if you would love to send your right-hand person through that certification, head over to strategicopsinstitute.com/CSOO and go ahead and fill out an application, get registered, or as always, you can always put time on my calendar or Jessica's calendar at strategicopsinstitute.com/consult. But for today, I hope you enjoy learning how to build a high-performing, self-led team that gets the founder out of the day-to-day. Carrying on and building off of what we've gone through in the last 2 sessions, today's session kind of pulls it all together. So if we think about building a high-performing self-led team, sometimes you'll see me abbreviate it as HPSLT. When you see that, that's what it means because that is a long, long title. So when you see that, it's, I think, high-performing team most people get the concept of. Self-led team is one that I think a lot of founders look at as like a unicorn myth. There's no way I could ever actually get out of the day-to-day, and there's no way my team could actually lead itself in such a way that I don't have to be involved in things. And you know that one of my core missions in so much of what we talk about is I don't want to see founder behavior transferred to the CSOO. So they are able to get themselves freedom by basically burying you in all of the same issues that they were once stuck in the middle of. So as we look at a lot of this, the goal here is how do we make it possible to have an actual self-led team, which if it's not your individual business that we're talking about, you are a part of that, but it's not that the founder gets freedom because now you are taking on all of those issues, all of the overwork, all of the complexity and stress. Instead, you're creating the ecosystem for the business itself to function in a really high-performing way. And you just are a piece of that kind of magic of pulling everything together to achieve the outcomes, the vision, the goals. And so for a CEO to actually be able to get out of the day-to-day of their business, it is about more than just developing systems, right? It's about more than just doing a lot of the things that a lot of businesses are told. And a key piece of that is having high-performing and self-led team. So a lot of people tend to think if they hire a team, that is their key to freedom. But if it's not the right team or the right team structure, as we've been talking about, a lot of times it actually creates more dependency and more stress, more noise, more of all the things. So we really want to make sure that the team that's there, we can turn into high performing and have them develop the practices and have the empowerment and the ownership to be able to actually lead things on their own without having to constantly go to you or constantly having to go to the founder, depending on where you sit in the business. Um, and so a way to do that really is the full lean scaling system. You need all the pieces that you're learning throughout the entire certification. You need the right strategies in place. You need the planning to support it and connect the vision to day to day. You need the right systems and processes and tools and tech and infrastructure to support things. You need the right leadership practices and the right insight, all of that. But today, specifically, we're going to focus on the team aspect of it. So when I think about high performing team, I'm gonna break the two concepts up and then stitch them together. So high performing to me is people who work together. So they work as a team unit with a common, clear set of objectives, and they're committed to the vision and values. Like they have a shared direction that they're going in. It's not a bunch of individuals who are just off checking their own things off a list, very kind of heads down, heads on my own paper kind of focus. Instead, everyone has this collective ownership and collective vision as to where they're going as a business, and they are coming together as a team in order to make that happen. It doesn't mean that they don't have individual ownership of certain things, meaning like I'm the only one who can do this function, but they're not thinking of it as here's my list of things to do. As soon as I check these things off, my job is done. They're thinking of it as here's the goals and the outcomes and the things that we've committed to this week, this month, this quarter. Like, how are we going to achieve them? Here's how my piece in the things that I'm doing overall contribute towards that. So it's a very different way of thinking and a different way of showing up and acting, even if the behaviors day to day or like the actions day to day might look similar. And a high performing team is one that excels at collaboration and at communication and is really committed to results and quality results. It's not a let's get through this as quick as possible, do the least, amount of work in a not really paying attention to quality kind of way. They take ownership of the outcomes as if it were their own business in a lot of ways. And that's ultimately what you want with anybody that's working for you. And that's what you want to be cultivating and developing in any of the businesses that you're working within. Um, Now, a self led team is a team that can self organize and work together. So they might have clarity on where they're going, which they get. That's part of that high performing. But when they're self led, they just kind of come together and they're like, all right, guys, what do we got to do to get this done? It's not constantly going to the founder or constantly going to you or waiting to be told what to do. They don't need someone to give them a checklist of this week, go do these things. And they operate very much within a culture of inspired ownership where they're taking ownership of what to do. And if you did not, if you weren't there for the Soul Collective that we did last month, where we talked about inspired ownership, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to that because a lot of what we touched on in that one feeds into this. So I'm not repeating it in today's session too much. So when we blend those together, we have high performing and we have self led team. This is a team that takes inspired ownership over their results, both as a collective and as individuals. So they commit to excellence individually, but they're thinking and operating together as a team. It's kind of like a sports team if you think about it. And I'm going to probably butcher this because I'm not much of a sports person. But if you think about it, there's individuals on a team that can shine at different points in time. Everybody has a different role, right? The pitcher is not also catching and also doing other things. People have their unique things that they're doing, but it's the collection of all of those people coming together and working as one unit together that ultimately leads to success. If each person is only focused on their own thing and not paying attention to the team kind of dynamic and concept, you can only get so far. You're depending on heroics to carry a team instead of the team working together. And so this to me is the ultimate goal is we want to build and develop this type of team within all of the businesses that we work with and within our own businesses as well. And so a lot of times people think the key to a high performing team is just hiring great people. Like if you have great people, you have a high performing team. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You can have a collection of incredibly great people, but if they all operate as individuals and don't work as a team unit, then you don't have a high performing team and you definitely don't have that self led type of team. It takes a whole ecosystem. Pretty much everything that you do that leads to success in business is based in an ecosystem of some kind. And you need for the practices to be able to emerge, and then you need the right leadership to be able to maintain those and have them be successful over time. And so that's what we're going to break down tonight. So, y'all know this picture. You've seen this a lot of times by now. This is the hub model. And each one of these people in this model might be an A player. They might be a fantastic rock star at what they do. But again, if they're operating as individuals, it doesn't really give you a lot of freedom in the business if you're the founder, if you're the one in the middle, or even if you're the sole, the one in the middle, with your CSOO hat on, right? And so in this case, everything ends up dependent on one person. And this is very much a what do I need to do? Okay, it's done. What do I need to do? Okay, it's done. Instead of working together as a team unit, whereas this is more the ecosystem model. And this is what it looks like without a soul. So without a strategy and operations leader, you would be the CSOO, the soul at that strategy level. And so this is more of the ecosystem model that we want to shift to, where the circle is the team. The team works together and where they're taking direction instead of from an individual is from the vision and goals because they have that kind of shared vision of where they're going and that collective ownership of how to get there. Founder is kind of outside the circle, setting the overarching direction instead of the one tasking and checking and doing all the things. And so this is the hub model that we want to move most companies away from. And this is where most companies start. And usually, when you step into a business, if you're stepping in as a CSOO, you would be stepping into a model that looks a whole lot like this. It's very rare that you step into a business that looks like this. It's fantastic when you do, but it is rare. So, this is one of the transitions that you make. And when you step into a business, if they did not previously have somebody in your role, a lot of times, again, you have very high risk that you just replace the founder in the center of the circle. And then it actually sometimes can create more chaos because nobody knows like who to go to and what to do. And the founder's going around you and still asking people for things, and people are still going to them and asking for things. And then you're trying to steer the ship at the same time. And this can be a little chaotic without putting the practices in place that we're going through tonight. You ultimately want it to look much more like this, where you're the one who is kind of providing and reinforcing the vision and the plan and the strategy, and here's where we're going. And you're making it possible for the team to be able to do what they need to do. Sometimes you're making it possible by being the buffer between the founder and the team. So the founder's not coming in and changing priorities every last second and things like that, right? So sometimes you're protecting the team as much as you're protecting the founder and helping them achieve their vision. Here, you're ensuring that people are doing the right things to achieve the vision and goals. And here, you're ensuring that you're blocking and protecting the team so they can stay focused on the vision and goals. And so, this is again kind of what you want to evolve into if this is what you step into. The reality is, if you are the first person in that role in the business, you will have to transition through this before you can get to this. This is kind of the natural first state, as much as we'd like to skip over it. But as all things I always talk about, you can move through the messy parts a whole lot quicker when you know what success looks like and when you know how to put the right things in place. All right. I hope you enjoyed that behind the scenes look into what we do inside our Chief Strategy and Operating Officer certification program, and that you took away some great tips to be able to get yourself out of the day to day if you're a founder, or to be able to support your founder to do so if you are their rock star right hand person. Again, if you want to learn a little bit more about CSOO certification, either for yourself or for the right hand person who supports you in your business, head to strategicopsinstitute.com/CSOO. That stands for Chief Strategy and Operating Officer, or just put time on my calendar or Jessica's calendar at strategicopsinstitute.com/consult. And we'd love to chat with you about seeing if it's a fit. And if, as you're listening, you're saying, ooh, I really want a right hand person, but I don't know that I have or need someone at that level yet, we do have other levels of certification as well. So just put time on our calendar and we could talk through what you're looking for, including getting you matched up with one of the incredible people that we've certified already in our programs. So I hope you got a lot of value out of this episode. I look forward to being back with you live soon, and I will see you again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Simplify to Scale. If you'd like to take things further, I invite you to join me for my Scale Smarter, Not Harder interactive workshop. Head to strategicopsinstitute.com/scale smarter to get registered. Not only will we dive into what might be keeping you trapped in the day-to-day, but you'll have the opportunity to ask me your questions live. If you got value out of today's episode, I'd love if you'd take a moment and rate and review the show so more businesses can learn to scale more simply and sustainably. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and I'll see you again next week.